Welcome back to the county seat. We are having a discussion today on UCAP. This is a program, help me with the acronym again so that people understand what it stands for.
Utah Cluster Acceleration Partnership.
Yep.
Okay, after I get to cluster, I start having a mental block, so.
Yeah, it was sponsored by the Governor's Office of Economic Development and the Division of Workforce Services. And it's been done around the state, but the way Snow's doing it and the way we're doing it in central Utah is unique, we feel.
Yes.
And it truly is a six-county cluster. Let me reintroduce our guest today, Gary Smith, the Chief Academic Officer of Snow College, Kendall Willardson, who's the Lab Manager, Sevier County Medical Center, and Linda Gillmor, Economic Development Director for Millard County. Millard and Willardson. This could get very confusing. A couple of questions that have come from the conversation we've had so far today. One that hit me. This is great for new businesses, you know, and I can see where you've got a great tool from economic development for people to actually come in and go, okay, I need a workforce. Can you build me one? And you can go over to Snow College and Gary can build you one.
That's right.
But what about the traditional agencies? Because, you know, in the break we were talking about, you know, the federal agencies, the BLM and the Forest Service, and are they willing to accept a new kind of credential when they're looking to hire? I mean, you know, people are kind of entrenched, particularly agencies who are entrenched in saying, well, you got to have this, this, and this, and this, and this. They're not used to seeing something new. And so I'm wondering if there's some resistance in those industries.
What we've encountered is the opposite of resistance. Matter of fact, around this very table that we're sitting at, we had the Forest Service, BLM, folks from agriculture, a number of state and federal agencies and private organizations say, we want to encourage this because we need a person that can come in that's a doer, that has the knowledge and has the ability to join the workforce. There are times we need highly specialized people, but we want somebody with this associate degree or certificate that can come in and add to our workforce. So we've just been encouraged. There's been no resistance.
When you decided to start the program, and I'm not exactly sure. We know you had already identified the need in Millard County. I'm not sure what the stimulus was that hit the gray matter that made things start working here at Snow College, but was the program hard to sell, to get all the partners like the governor and everybody involved in it?
No, I think in many respects it was easy to sell because we were listening. We weren't trying to sell, we were trying to hear and listen to what needed to be done. I think that was really the key point. Now, for all of us who have done things a certain way for a lot of years, we've had to revisit those thoughts. We've had to think, okay, what should we be doing that's more innovative, that's more responsive, that's more aimed at the future? So probably the most thing has been ourselves rethinking what we've done and getting out of our box.
And in the tough economic times, there's, you know, Snow College as well as everyone else has had to look to tighten their belts, and so they're looking and saying, okay, where do we need to spend our money? Right. What makes the most sense? You know, are we the things we've always done, and if you always do the same thing, you always get the same thing. And so they were, you know, proactive and they looked out and went to the businesses and says, okay, what do you need? And went to the development people and said, what is there in these counties that our kids can stay here and do? And this natural resources and the industrial technology is what's been born out of all of that.
There's another area too, because we've talked about bringing industries in and being attractive, and we want to do that. But we got a lot of mom and pops. We've got a lot of small businesses, and we felt like we needed to pay attention to those folks as well. So our business faculty have gone out and surveyed 140 small businesses in our 6-county area, tabulated that, brought back, and we've made adjustments in what we're going to offer, more importantly, how we're going to offer it. So that's been equally important. That infrastructure needs to be there too.
Well, that leads to a very good question. How customizable is this program? Say you go over to Aurora, and there's a guy that makes feed pellets there, and he needs a feed pellet specialist. I mean, I know I'm pulling it out of nowhere, but just to make the point, how customizable is the program?
Well, I think what we've discovered in listening to people is that there were things that were the same across industries. There were certain manufacturing, certain technology, certain maintenance skills and abilities that were the same. Now, we may not be able to do highly specialized pellet manufacturing, but the core is there. And then what businesses and industry have said is, we can provide that additional layer. We can bring the person in. We can bring somebody in from the home office in another place and provide that training.
Is one of the emphasis, when you're involved in small business, the first thing a small business owner is going to look at is, okay, I need multiple hats. Typically an understanding of certain functions of management. Are you finding that small businesses, that's a big component with them?
Yeah, they need to have a variety of skills. They need to have a strong base, if that's what I'm hearing you asking. You can't be too highly specialized. You really need to do, I think there's a commercial on TV that talks about one person doing everything in the shop. That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
I think it's Bob. Yeah.
But then it's a pretty good marriage because you've got your career and technical education, but you also have your general education. So you're getting a general education. I'll be able to write an email or a memo or a newsletter or something to send out, but I'll also be able to work on the machinery or maintain the machinery or whatever you really need to do. One case in point that I've heard told about is a machinist, and he makes specialized parts. But there's I think he only has like 2 employees or 3 employees from Wayne County, but when he needs an employee, he needs one that can do this special thing, but yet be broad enough to do everything. So he was saying to us, can you teach, this basic, but yet then I can go ahead and specialize. And I think that's what these small businesses are looking for.
One of the questions that comes to mind, county governments and small they tend to be a little bit territorial. Like, well, this is my assessor's office. How did you get 6 counties to do this?
Well, we have had to readjust, but that's part of the speed that we're experiencing is that we're using existing organizations. So, for example, the 6 County Association of Governments already has an economic development district with a subcommittee called the Technical Committee that makes things happen fast. And Snow College has put 2 of their members on that committee. So we can do things quickly and get information back to the larger boards quickly. And you serve on a CTE committee, a technical career and technical education committee. So we didn't reinvent new things. We're just using what we have and coordinating better and then bringing the business community in on this loop.
And kind of to build on that is that we're using existing groups, committees, but for instance, on the committee that we're talking about here, it now meets in different locations, so it rotates around. It's not just isolated in one community. It's going out to Delta, out to Nephi, out to Torrey, and holding meetings there.
Well, a road trip's always fun.
One other thing that I just want to mention too is even though we're acting as 6 counties, we don't have rigid county lines, either within that group or with our neighboring counties that, like Beaver or Juab. We're assuming that when we do a project, Millard County is going to be working with other counties that are outside of those lines on a map.
This committee that we've talked a little bit about is Career and Technical Education Committee, Advisory Committee to Snow College. And it kind of grew out of the UCAT and,
There's another one of those acronyms.
Yeah, Utah College of Applied Technology.
Okay.
Yep.
But
That's my job here. You guys are doing the rest of it just fine.
We have to remember.
But basically what this committee is it's higher education and it's public education and it's business and industry all together. So we have business and industry representatives from every school district in these 6 counties, and then we have board members, elected board members from those 6 counties, and those are the members of the committee. But we also have superintendents, we have business and industry at large, and we have the continuing or career and technical education specialists from those districts that all meet together. And so it kind of it meshes all 6 counties.
Does that create a synergy?
Really does.
Absolutely.
It really does.
I mean, that's really the key.
Is it such a big synergy that it's almost like pulling the lead shield off the core at the nuclear reactor?
It's just keeping up with it.
Yeah. And it's also about connecting the dots phenomenon, where we hear that certain person's interested in that, can provide that.
Right.
And I think that's been as much as synergy,
Right.
is learning what other people are doing.
Well, and the other thing, too, we've realized as we've been visiting today that even though we're running to keep up with what we're doing right now, we've got to look ahead.
Right.
How do we make sure that this is an ongoing thing? Because we always have to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of what our businesses need.
Well, I actually think that that's a topic that requires more information than we have in this break. So I think we're going to take a break here from the county seat, and we will come back and rejoin the discussion in just a minute. Reminding, of course, to you always, jot down that we have a website, thecountyseat.tv, and we also have our Facebook page. We'll be right back after this break.